Ethan, what are you doing?
My family accused the woman I love of being a gold digger.
The microphone screeched loudly as Ethan grabbed it. Conversations in the grand ballroom died instantly. Crystal chandeliers glowed above hundreds of wealthy guests, investors, politicians, celebrities. All eyes turned toward the tall Caucasian man standing on stage in a black tuxedo. His jaw was tight. His breathing was heavy. Beside him, a step back, stood Maya. She was wearing a deep green dress that she had bought herself, on a budget, at a boutique 40 minutes from the city. Her warm, mixed-race complexion glowed under the chandelier light. Bronze and brown, her curly dark hair pinned up with a few strands loose at her temples. She looked beautiful. She looked completely blindsided. "Ethan, what are you doing?" she whispered. But Ethan didn't answer her. Instead, he looked directly at the table where his powerful family sat. His father, Richard Whitmore, billionaire founder of Whitmore Global, stared back with a cold warning in his eyes. His mother folded her arms. His sister smirked. Ethan raised the microphone. "6 months ago," he said slowly, his voice echoing through the room, "my family accused the woman I love of being a gold digger." Gasps rippled through the audience. Maya blinked in shock. "What?" she whispered. At the family table, Richard slammed his glass down. "Ethan!" he barked. "Put the microphone down." But Ethan didn't move. "They said she only wanted my money," he continued, his voice growing stronger. "They said if I ever lost my fortune, she would disappear." Maya stared at him now, confusion turning into worry. "Ethan, what are you talking about?" His mother shook her head in disgust. "Don't embarrass this family," she hissed. But Ethan looked straight at Maya. "For 6 months," he said quietly, "I pretended to lose everything." The room exploded into murmurs. Maya stepped back. What?" Her voice trembled. "You told me your company collapsed." Ethan swallowed hard. "Yes. You told me your accounts were frozen." "Yes. You said your family cut you off." "Yes." Her eyes widened as realization hit. "So, that was all a lie?" Silence swallowed the ballroom. Ethan lowered his head. "Yes." For a moment no one moved. Then Maya shook her head slowly. "I don't understand," she said. Ethan looked at the crowd. "My family wanted proof that Maya wasn't after my money." His father stood up. "Enough," Richard growled, but Ethan raised a hand. "No, Dad. Tonight, they're going to hear the truth." Maya's voice was barely a whisper. "What truth?" Ethan looked directly at her. "The truth about what you did when you thought I had nothing." 6 months earlier, Ethan Whitmore slammed the door of his father's mansion behind him. "Why would you say something like that?" he demanded. The massive dining room was filled with tension. Richard Whitmore leaned back in his chair calmly. "Because it's the truth." Ethan clenched his fists. "You don't even know Maya." His sister laughed. "Oh, we know enough." His mother sipped her wine. "Girls like her don't date billionaires for personality." Ethan's anger boiled. "You're wrong." Richard folded his hands. "Then prove it." The room went quiet. "What do you mean?" Ethan asked. His father leaned forward. "Tell her you lost everything." Ethan blinked. "That's insane." "Is it?" his father replied. "If she stays when the money disappears, then we'll accept her." His sister smirked. "But if she runs away," his mother finished the sentence, "then you'll finally understand." Ethan paced the room. "You want me to lie to the woman I love?" Richard shrugged. "If she loves you, the lie won't matter." Ethan stopped pacing. Deep down, doubt had already crept in. If you're enjoying this story so far, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment below, because we are just getting started. His entire life, People had loved his money first. Friends, business partners, even past girlfriends. What if Maya was the same? Finally, Ethan exhaled slowly. Fine. 3 days later, Ethan sat across from Maya in their luxury apartment. She was smiling as she poured coffee. "You've been quiet all morning," she said. Ethan looked down at the table. "Maya, something happened." Her smile faded. "What's wrong?" He took a breath. "My company collapsed." Her eyebrows shot up. "What?" "The investors pulled out." She leaned forward. "Okay, but you'll recover." "It's worse than that." Ethan forced his voice to shake. "My accounts are frozen. My family cut me off." Maya's face went pale. "You're saying you lost everything?" He nodded slowly. Silence filled the room. Ethan studied her expression carefully, waiting, watching, testing. Finally, she spoke. "Are you okay?" Ethan blinked. "What?" She reached for his hand. "I mean, emotionally. Are you okay?" He stared at her. "You're not angry?" "Why would I be angry?" "Maya, I just told you I'm broke." She shrugged softly. "So?" Ethan frowned. "So, Maya, I might have debts. I might have to sell this apartment." She squeezed his hand. "Then we'll move somewhere cheaper." "We?" "Of course we." He searched her face for signs of fear, but all he saw was calm determination. "You're not leaving?" he asked. Maya laughed softly. "Ethan, money comes and goes." She leaned closer. "I didn't fall in love with your bank account." 2 weeks later, Ethan and Maya carried boxes into a tiny apartment. The place was barely a quarter the size of their old one. Maya dropped a box on the floor and looked around. "Well, it's cozy." Ethan watched her carefully. "You hate it," he said. She shook her head. "No, I hate the couch." She pointed at the ugly brown sofa. "That thing looks like it survived 3 wars." Ethan chuckled. The first real laugh he'd had in weeks. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Maya worked longer hours at the hospital, where she was a nurse. She cooked dinner every night. Encouraged Ethan when he pretended to struggle finding work. One evening, Ethan sat on the couch staring at his phone. Maya walked in. "You found a job yet?" He shook his head. "No one wants a failed CEO." She sat beside him. "That's not true. Maya, you built a company once. You can do it again." He looked at her. "You really believe that?" She smiled. "Of course." Meanwhile, across the city, Ethan's family watched everything. Richard Whitmore studied the surveillance report from the private investigator. "She's still there," he said. His wife frowned. "Impossible," the investigator continued. "She's working double shifts." Richard raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "To help pay their rent." The room fell silent. But the test wasn't over, and what Maya would do next would shock them all. Ethan stared at the job listing on his phone for nearly 10 minutes before speaking. "Maya, I think I found something." She looked up from the small kitchen where she was making dinner. "What kind of job?" He hesitated. "Construction." Maya paused for a moment, then walked over and sat beside him. "Construction?" "Yeah." He rubbed the back of his neck. "It's not exactly what I'm used to, but they're hiring fast." She studied his face carefully. "You've never done manual labor before." "I'll learn." "You're serious?" Ethan forced a smile. "I don't really have the luxury of being picky anymore." For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she nodded firmly. "Okay." He blinked. "Okay?" "Yes." "Maya, it's hard work." She shrugged. "So what? Work is work." He searched her face again, waiting for doubt. But instead, she stood up and grabbed his jacket from the chair. "Well," she said. "What?" "Don't be late for your first day." The next morning, Ethan stood outside a noisy construction site wearing a borrowed helmet and cheap work boots. The air smelled like dust and steel. Workers shouted instructions across the site. A large, rough-looking foreman walked over. "You the new guy?" Ethan nodded. "Name's Ethan." The man looked him up and down. "You ever done this before?" Ethan shook his head. The foreman laughed. "Figures." He pointed to a stack of bricks. "Start carrying those." Within an hour, Ethan's arms were burning. By noon, sweat soaked through his shirt. By evening, his back felt like it might snap. But what hurt the most wasn't the work. It was the guilt. Because every time he looked at his aching hands, he remembered something. He didn't have to be here. This entire situation was a lie. And Maya believed it completely. That evening, Ethan walked slowly up the stairs to their apartment. When he opened the door, the smell of food greeted him instantly. Maya stood in the kitchen wearing an oversized sweater. She looked up. "Hey." Ethan dropped his bag on the floor. "How was your day?" she asked. He exhaled heavily. "I think my spine is broken." She laughed. "Already?" "Maya, those guys carry cement like it's paper." She handed him a glass of water. "Sit down." He collapsed into the chair. "Maybe my father was right," he muttered. Her eyebrows tightened. "About what?" "Maybe. I'm not cut out for this." She leaned forward. "Don't say that. I used to run boardrooms. Now I carry bricks. And what if I fail again?" Maya reached across the table and grabbed his hand. "Then we try something else." He looked at her. "You make it sound easy. It's not easy." "Then why aren't you worried?" She shrugged slightly. "Because I believe in you." Her voice was calm but firm. "You built a company from nothing once. That didn't disappear just because your money did." Ethan swallowed hard. The guilt twisted deeper in his chest. Across town, inside the Whitmore mansion, Richard Whitmore studied another report. His wife sat across from him. "Well?" she asked. Richard adjusted his glasses. "She's still with him." His daughter rolled her eyes. "Of course she is. She's waiting for him to bounce back." The investigator spoke calmly. "There's more." Richard looked up. "What?" "She's working 2 jobs now." The room went quiet. "What do you mean 2 jobs?" his wife asked. "Hospital during the day. A small cafe at night." The daughter scoffed. "She's pretending." The investigator shook his head. "I don't think so." Richard leaned back slowly. "Interesting." But the test wasn't over. 2 weeks later, something happened that shook Ethan even more. He arrived home early one evening. The apartment was quiet. "Maya," he called. No answer. He walked toward the bedroom. That's when he noticed something strange. Her jewelry box was open, completely empty. His heart skipped. "Maya?" A few minutes later, she walked through the door, holding a small envelope. She froze when she saw him. "Oh, you're home early." Ethan pointed toward the bedroom. "Where's your jewelry?" She hesitated. "It's gone." "What do you mean, gone?" "I sold it." His stomach dropped. "You sold it?" She opened the envelope and placed money on the table. $5,000. Ethan stared at the cash. "Maya, why would you do that?" She looked at him like the answer was obvious. "To help you." "Help me?" "Yes." "Maya, that was your grandmother's necklace." "I know. That thing meant everything to you." She shrugged softly. "Not more than you." Ethan's chest tightened. "You shouldn't have done that." "Why not?" "Because I didn't ask you to." She folded her arms. "You didn't need to." "Maya." "Ethan." Her voice softened. "We're a team." He shook his head. "I feel like I'm dragging you down." She stepped closer. "You're not dragging me anywhere. You're working 2 jobs because of me. And it's not fair." She looked straight into his eyes. "Do you think love is supposed to be fair?" He didn't answer. She continued. When things were easy, you took care of me. Now it's my turn." Her words hit him like a punch. For the first time, Ethan felt something dangerous, the urge to end the test. But his father's voice echoed in his mind. "If she loves you, the lie won't matter." That night, Ethan lay awake staring at the ceiling. Maya slept peacefully beside him. He whispered quietly into the darkness, "I'm sorry." Meanwhile, at the Whitmore mansion, the family gathered again. Richard placed another report on the table. His daughter frowned. "She sold her jewelry." "Yes." The mother leaned forward. "That doesn't prove anything." Richard looked thoughtful. "No. What are you thinking?" his wife asked. Richard stood up slowly. "If this girl wants to prove she loves him." His eyes hardened. "Then we push the test even further." If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment what you think Maya will do next. Because what Ethan's family planned next would be the hardest test of all, and it would push Ethan closer than ever to revealing the truth. The next morning started like any other. Ethan woke up before sunrise, quietly pulling on his worn work boots while Maya slept. He paused for a moment, watching her breathe softly. Even in sleep, she looked exhausted. 2 jobs. Because of him, or at least because of the lie he was living. He rubbed his face and whispered under his breath, "I'm going to fix this." But deep down, he didn't know how. At the construction site, the noise of machines roared through the air as workers moved quickly around piles of steel and cement. Ethan had gotten used to the rhythm now, lifting, carrying, sweating, repeating. The foreman shouted across the site, "Whitmore, over here!" Ethan jogged over. "Yeah?" The foreman scratched his beard. "You're improving." Ethan laughed. "That's the nicest thing anyone said to me all week." The foreman smirked. "Don't get cocky. Grab those pipes." As Ethan turned, something unexpected happened. 2 men in suits walked across the construction site. Suits didn't belong here. They approached the foreman and spoke quietly. Ethan watched from a distance. The foreman's expression slowly changed from neutral to uncomfortable. After a minute, the men walked away. The foreman called out, "Whitmore?" Ethan walked over. "What's up?" The foreman looked awkward. "Listen, we gotta let you go." Ethan blinked. "What?" "Orders from above." "What orders?" The foreman lowered his voice. "Some powerful people made a call." Ethan's stomach dropped. "Are you serious?" "Look, man, you're a good worker, but when rich guys start making phone calls, I can't fight that." Ethan knew instantly who was behind it. His father. The test just got harder. That evening, Ethan sat silently on the couch while Maya walked through the door. She smiled when she saw him. "Hey, I finished early tonight." But the moment she saw his face, her smile faded. "What's wrong?" Ethan hesitated. "I lost the job." Her eyebrows shot up. "Already?" He nodded. "The company made cuts." Maya sat down beside him. "Are you okay?" He laughed bitterly. "Second failure in 2 months. I'm doing great." She grabbed his hand. "You didn't fail. I got fired, Maya. That doesn't mean you failed." He looked at her in disbelief. "How do you stay this positive?" She smiled softly. "Because someone has to." He stared at her. "You should be angry." "Why?" "Because your life got harder when you met me." She shook her head. "My life got better when I met you." Across the city, inside the Whitmore mansion, Richard Whitmore poured himself a drink. His daughter watched him. "You got Ethan fired?" Richard nodded. "Yes." His wife frowned. "Was that necessary?" "If this girl is only here for money, pressure will expose it." The daughter smirked. "So what's next?" Richard leaned back in his chair. "We invite them to dinner." The following weekend, Ethan and Maya stood outside the enormous gates of the Whitmore estate. Maya looked nervous. Your family suddenly wants to see us? Ethan forced a smile. Apparently. She took a breath. I hope they're ready to apologize. Ethan didn't respond, because he knew the truth. This dinner wasn't an apology. It was another test. Inside the mansion, the dining table looked exactly the same as the night everything started. Huge, elegant, intimidating. Richard Whitmore sat at the head of the table, his wife beside him, his daughter across from them. Maya greeted them politely. Good evening. The daughter didn't even pretend to smile. Well, look who's still here. Ethan's jaw tightened. Maya didn't come here to be insulted. Richard raised a hand calmly. Relax. Dinner began, but the tension was thick. Finally, Richard looked at Maya. So, tell me something. She met his gaze. Yes? Why are you still with my son? Ethan clenched his fists. Dad, Richard continued, he's broke. The room went silent. Maya answered calmly. That doesn't change who he is. The daughter laughed. Oh, please. She leaned forward. You really expect us to believe that? Maya didn't react. Richard spoke again. My son had a future once. He still does. Maya replied. Richard's eyes narrowed. What if he never recovers? Then we build a different future. The daughter scoffed. With what money? Maya looked directly at her. With effort. Ethan watched the exchange with growing disbelief. His family had spent their entire lives believing money was everything, yet Maya spoke like money didn't even matter. Finally, Richard asked one more question. Would you marry my son? Even if he stayed poor forever? Without hesitation, Maya answered. Yes. Silence swallowed the room. Richard leaned back slowly. He studied her face carefully, searching for deception, but he found none. Later that night, Ethan and Maya walked home together under the quiet streetlights. Maya nudged him playfully. Well, that went terribly. Ethan laughed. You handled them better than I did. She shrugged. I'm used to people underestimating me. He stopped walking. Maya. She turned. What? He stared at her, guilt flooding his chest again. I need to tell you something. Her expression softened. What is it? For a moment, the truth almost escaped his lips. The lie, the test, everything. But before he could speak, his phone buzzed. A message from his father. Not yet. Ethan's heart sank. He looked back at Maya. Nothing. She smiled. Okay. But Ethan knew something now. The test had gone too far, and soon he was going to end it. If you've made it this far in the story, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and comment below, because the final part will reveal the shocking truth that changes everything, and Maya's reaction to that truth will surprise everyone. The ballroom doors burst open. Ethan Whitmore walked in with long, determined strides, Maya beside him. The room was packed with powerful people, investors, CEOs, politicians, and socialites. Crystal chandeliers shimmered above them, casting golden light across the crowd. But Ethan wasn't paying attention to any of that. His eyes were locked on the stage. Ethan, Maya whispered nervously. Why are we here? He squeezed her hand. You deserve the truth. Her stomach tightened. What truth? Before he could answer, Ethan stepped forward, climbed the small stage, and grabbed the microphone. The sharp screech of feedback cut through the entire ballroom. Heads turned instantly. His father, Richard Whitmore, slowly stood from the VIP table. Ethan, he warned quietly. But Ethan ignored him. He cleared his throat and spoke into the microphone. Good evening, everyone. The room quieted. My name is Ethan Whitmore. Soft murmurs spread across the crowd. Most of them already knew exactly who he was. But tonight wasn't about them. He turned toward Maya, who stood frozen near the stage. For 6 months, Ethan said slowly, my family believed the woman I love was a gold digger. Maya's eyes widened. The room went completely silent. Richard Whitmore's face hardened. "Ethan," he said sharply, "that's enough." But Ethan raised his hand. "No, Dad. Tonight it ends." He looked back at Maya. "For 6 months I told her I lost everything." Maya's heart started racing. "You told me your company collapsed," she said quietly. Ethan nodded. "Yes." "You said your accounts were frozen." "Yes." "You said your family abandoned you." "Yes." Her voice trembled now. "And that wasn't true." Ethan lowered his head. "No." A wave of whispers spread through the ballroom. Maya took a step back. "You're saying you lied?" His voice was barely above a whisper. "Yes." Tears filled her eyes. "Why?" Ethan swallowed hard and turned toward his family. "Because they wanted me to test you." The entire room erupted with shocked murmurs. Maya stared at him like she had never seen him before. "A test?" she repeated. "Yes, to see if you would leave when the money disappeared." Her chest rose and fell as emotions battled inside her. "You let me believe we were broke." Ethan nodded. "You let me work 2 jobs." "Yes." "You let me sell my grandmother's necklace." His voice cracked. "Yes." Silence. Heavy. Painful. Finally, Maya spoke again. "And all that time, you were still a billionaire?" Ethan met her eyes. "Yes." Her lips trembled. "Do you have any idea what those months were like for me?" "I do." "No," she said firmly. "You don't." The room watched every second. "You watched me struggle," she continued. "You watched me sacrifice everything." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "And you said nothing." Ethan stepped down from the stage slowly. "I know." She shook her head. "No, Ethan, you don't know." He stood in front of her now. "I hated every second of it." "Then why didn't you stop?" He looked toward his father. "Because I needed to prove something." "To them?" Maya asked bitterly. "Yes, and to myself." She laughed painfully. "So what was the result of your little experiment?" Ethan looked around the ballroom. Every single person here heard the accusations. He turned back to Maya. "But they also deserve to hear the truth." Richard Whitmore finally stood up and walked toward the stage. The powerful billionaire rarely looked uncomfortable. But tonight, he did. Ethan spoke loudly so the entire room could hear. "When Maya believed I had nothing, she stayed." He pointed gently toward her. "She worked 2 jobs." The room grew quiet again. "She sold her jewelry to help me survive." Maya looked down at the floor. "She supported me when she thought my life was falling apart." He turned to his father. "And not once did she ask for money." Richard Whitmore slowly walked forward. His voice was calm. "That's true." Everyone looked at him in shock. The billionaire looked directly at Maya. "We were wrong about you." His daughter shifted uncomfortably at the table. Richard continued, "In my world, loyalty is rare." He studied Maya carefully. "But you proved something tonight." "What's that?" Maya asked quietly. "That you loved my son, even when you believed he had nothing." The ballroom fell silent again. Ethan stepped closer to Maya. "I'm sorry," he said. "I should have trusted you." She wiped tears from her cheeks. "You should have." He took a deep breath. "But there's something else." She looked up. "What?" Ethan slowly dropped to one knee. Gasps filled the room. "Maya," he said softly, pulling out a ring. "You loved me when the world thought I was broke." Her hands covered her mouth. "You believed in me when even my own family doubted you." His voice shook with emotion. "So now, I want to spend the rest of my life proving that you were right." He held out the ring. "Will you marry me?" The entire ballroom held its breath. Maya stared at him, at the ring, at the man who had broken her trust, but also revealed her strength to the entire world. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she laughed softly through her tears. "You are unbelievably stubborn." Ethan smiled nervously. "I've been told that." She took a step closer. "You hurt me. I know. You lied to me. I know." She studied his face carefully. "But you also just humiliated your billionaire family in front of half the city to tell the truth." A few people in the crowd chuckled. She extended her hand, slowly. "Yes." The ballroom exploded into applause. Ethan slid the ring onto her finger and stood up. Maya leaned forward and hugged him tightly. Across the room, Richard Whitmore watched quietly. His wife whispered to him, "Well, that didn't go the way we expected." Richard nodded slowly. "No." His eyes remained on Maya. "But maybe it went the way it needed to." Ethan wrapped his arm around Maya as the crowd celebrated, but he leaned down and whispered in her ear, "There's one more thing." She looked up. "What?" He smiled. "You're getting that necklace back." She laughed. "You better." The camera would slowly fade as the ballroom lights shimmered and the applause continued. And before the video ends, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. Because sometimes the greatest test of love isn't wealth. It's what someone does when they believe there's none left. And Maya proved something the entire billionaire world had forgotten. The richest love is the one that survives without money.